Shoes are portable surfaces that we carry under our feet. They have a huge influence on how our running stride is feeling. In this video, we're going to explore all the different types of shoes, and then we try to give you some advice on which choice is the right one for your individual prerequisites. Now, first of all, we need to ask ourselves the question, why does shoe choice matter? They don't only influence the performance by how well we will be able to run in the shoe, but they can also potentially increase our risk for injury if they don't have cushion in the right areas or are just too firm for our needs. If you've ever walked into a running shoe store, you've seen how many different options there are. In this video, we're going to explore most of the broader categories and then give you some advice who these are for. Now, when it comes to Hyrox, there's always going to be a trade-off between stability on one end and then speed on the running on the other end. Stability mostly matters for the station. That means, do we have a stable support of the foot when we do wall balls, lunges or burpees? And then speed for the run is basically the energy return of the shoe, where we are propelling ourselves forward. The more cushion or the more advanced the foam is, the more supportive it's going to be on the run, but that might be detrimental on the station work. Now, before we dive into the different categories of shoes and explore the options, we have to analyze what a shoe needs to be capable of in order to perform well in a Hyrox race. The first thing we have to think about here is that we're not just running in a straight line. We will be running lots of corners. Most Hyrox courses are set up in a way that you have to run between 2 and 4 laps. And that means you have 4 corners on each lap, which can be significant and can influence the choice of shoe you will make. Another challenge the Hyrox race provides is the stations. Because here we have to do the wall balls, we have to do the lunges, we have to do burpee broad jumps, and all of these have certain requirements for the shoe. For example, if we do the lunge and we have a very narrow heel, we might get very unstable. The same goes for a shoe that has a very high stack height, like the classic running shoes made for long distance, which is also made for running long distance in a straight line, might make you very unstable, and you even have to cover more range of motion, kind of doing the lunge from a deficit because your feet are elevated. It could also provide a challenge when you're on the row, as it might feel a bit unstable during the drive phase, or it might even get tricky to get your shoe into the actual footrest of the rower. And then the final but very important thing to consider is the comfort of the shoe. Shoes with a higher stack height and more cushioning are usually more comfortable for the running and therefore better suited for beginners. Whereas shoes on the firmer side really require an efficient stride by whoever is running in them and therefore only suited for more advanced athletes. Now let's dive into the different categories of shoes. Now, the first category all of you are familiar with are the classic functional training shoes. Now, there are many different brands and manufacturers, but what all of these shoes have in common is a very wide forefoot to provide stability when you do your Olympic lifts. Then they have a very firm midsole and outsole that doesn't compress as you lift the very heavy weights. And they have a very stable and stiff heel counter that prevents your heel from slipping as you do burpees or rope climbs or other functional exercises. But they're not necessarily great for running. You don't have a lot of cushioning or stack, and they don't have good energy return because they're simply not designed for this purpose. You might get away with using these shoes if you're an absolute beginner and you really struggle with stability on the stations. The next option of shoe we're going to explore is the Cushion Daily Trainer. This is a shoe that is purely designed for running, and it has a medium to high stack height and is therefore relatively comfortable, and the other aspects of the shoe are also designed for comfort. As you can see, this is a rather popular option. As with all of the other shoes as well, there are many different brands that make similar trainers, and you can just explore the options out there and see which one fits the best for you. They are very flexible, have a nice comfortable upper material and heel counter, and they provide a nice bouncy ride. This is a good option if you're just starting out with running and you want to feel comfortable during all your runs, but you don't necessarily focus on high-paced running. Most of these shoes have a rather middle-class midsole, which doesn't provide the best energy return and is more designed for comfort. What you will be looking for is something like this that doesn't only have longitudinal profile, but also something perpendicular to your stride, which gives you good stability and good grip on the set push. The next option to explore is a lightweight premium trainer. A very popular option is this one, which is very lightweight, has a minimalistic upper material. The heel counter isn't as stable anymore, but they have a premium midsole foam that really has good energy return, and even some carbon rods which increase the stiffness of the shoe, which also yields more energy return on the run. Not all of these shoes come with carbon reinforced plates or fibers, and maybe just rely on the premium foam, but they're a really good option if you're aiming for really quick paces on the runs. What we would recommend is looking for a shoe that is designed for 5 to 10K races like this one, because it doesn't come with a super high stack height and gives you a good trade-off between stability and running speed. But keep in mind, due to the firmness of the foam and the minimalistic design, it is more geared towards more advanced runners. Now, another option would be a premium daily trainer with max cushion. And this is usually a race or training shoe that is designed for longer distances, let's say 15 kilometers onwards, maybe even up to the marathon distance. With this one, we also have a very stiff midsole that has good energy return. It even has a carbon plate which might not be as aggressive as for other shoes, so it's still suited for some of the stations. So we have enough bend in the forefoot to, for example, do the lunges or the burpees, and it has a wide platform under the forefoot which still provides the stability we need. Also, the grip on the shoe is very decent, so that's advantageous for the sled push and the sled pull, where we really need to rely on good grip. This shoe is great for athletes that really need the support on the running and might not be advanced runners yet. So let's say you have some experience with Hyrox racing and you have the money to spend on a premium trainer. We would recommend you getting one of these because they will feel great on the run and you will be able to train with them for a long time, improving your paces. The final option of shoes we're going to talk about is the so-called super shoe. These are very lightweight racing shoes that are usually very expensive, but offer great features that all revolve around speed. This is a very popular option. As you can see, it's extremely stiff, it has a very high stack, and it's relatively narrow, especially in the heel, to get the weight down as much as possible. The upper material isn't necessarily very comfortable, and the heel counter is stiff, but has very minimal cushion also to keep the weight down as much as possible. As I said, these shoes are great for running fast, especially in a straight line, but might not feel as stable in the corners. Also, due to the carbon plate, as you can see, they're very stiff. They don't have great flexibility in the forefoot, and that might make it very difficult to do the lunges or the burpees. This shoe is a great option if you're aiming for the quickest time possible and the run is kind of a challenge for you, because there they will provide the most support, and if you're comfortable doing the stations in them, you can really cut down these running times. Now that we have introduced you to the different categories of the shoes, it's important to understand that there are no clear lines between these different models or types of shoes. It's more on a spectrum, and some shoes are rather on the lighter side with less cushion, and others have a bit more cushion but might be more comfortable. So here it's always beneficial to consider the product sheets of the manufacturer to check out what is the stack height, what is the heel to toe drop off, and what is the upper material. And then more important than that is try out the shoe to see if it fits your foot. Is it too wide or too narrow in the forefoot? Is it too unstable in the heel counter, or do you maybe even encounter heel slip when wearing this particular shoe? Now, when it comes to choosing the right shoe for your individual strengths and weaknesses, you should consider your training background. If you come from a running background, we would recommend a minimalist, lightweight training shoe, as they're a bit firmer and they will help you out on the stations as you don't have too much instability, but they will be great and feel fast on the runs. If you come from a strength training or even CrossFit background and you haven't done much running yet, we would recommend a cushioned training shoe or a premium trainer, as these options really give you the support you need on the runs and allow you to clock up a lot of distance in your training. If you're an advanced athlete, we would recommend trying out a super shoe. We know that it's a huge investment, but if every second matters to you, it might be worth it to you. Now, this also leads into our next point, which is testing out the shoe, not only at the race, but also in training. We always recommend having a variety of shoes. This is not only good to prevent injury, but it will also prolong the lifespan of each individual shoe. Now again, there's no one-size-fits-all option for shoes when it comes to Hyrox. You need to explore which option works the best for you according to your strengths and weaknesses. This was everything for today's video. Leave us a comment down below which is your favorite shoe and how does it perform on race day. Now thank you for watching and see you in the next one.
Thank you.